guys, welcome back to the Attachment Point News Roundtable. I have Chris Lowell today with the National Disaster Advocates. And yeah, great to make your acquaintance. Appreciate Tony Canas connecting us. That guy is like a superhero, literally, figuratively.
Absolutely. No, Tony's a great guy, and it's a pleasure to meet you as well, Brett. When we connected, just found like you had a ton of stories and really interesting people. So glad to be here and talk about whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just jump right into the meat of it. I know you've been involved in a few projects, doing a few really cool things in InsurTech, and then National Disaster Advocates. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, how it's, I'll say, adjacent to insurance, maybe the value add for the insurance nerds out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're both new as a company and a new and unique business model. So the business, Natural Disaster Advocates, NDA, the website for everyone, www.ndamember.com. We're a new and unique value proposition in the claim space. So we are for homeowners looking to essentially offload their insurance carrier negotiations and settlement process in the time of a natural disaster. Right. So our impetus, I won't go into a detailed origin story here, but, we see a large trust gap between insurance carriers and homeowners. Right. And in the future, we may grow to cover commercial and other types as well. We'll focus on homeowners. And that trust gap is partially predicated on the fact that, the policy is 100 pages long. No one actually really does read the whole policy. And even if you did, it's written in legalese, so you don't actually know what you're covered for. And agents and brokers do their absolute best every day to help homeowners understand what's in that. But in the time of crisis, when you've actually got a natural disaster, whether it be hail or windstorm, hurricane, et cetera, you really need someone who's on your side advocating for you, right? There is a public adjuster model out there right now. Public adjusters work solely for the homeowners. And the current model is they typically take 10 to 20% of the total settlement amount as their payment, right? And that has two implications. One, it means that at the end of the day, the homeowner might not have all the money that they think they need to actually rebuild their home. And two, it strongly incentivizes public adjusters to ask and negotiate for things that are probably more than the contract intended. Right. And we don't want to hurt carriers, and we don't want carriers to be paying out more than what's intended either. All right. So our model is twofold. One, on the homeowner side, is to get them involved in a subscription and a membership upfront for $9.95 a month. Yeah, so like $10 a month.
Yeah.
Get them an affordable method to prepare for a natural disaster. For better or for worse, since you and I were kids, the number of natural disasters has increased by 300% in the United States. So now it's estimated that well over half of Americans, their homes will be hit by a natural disaster in the next 10 years. And I'll admit, I live up in Massachusetts. That's not something that resonates with me every single day. But in places like Florida, Texas, where we're going to launch our pilot, that's a really big deal. And so, there's the homeowner side where we want to get them involved in a monthly upfront subscription. Yep. And then we will provide all the adjusting and advocacy services 100% free whenever they need them. Mm-hmm. And the second side is we sort of want to clean up the public adjuster reputation and model, right? We don't want to pay adjusters a percentage of settlement. Our goal is to pay them by the hour or by the claim. Yeah. Which makes them a little bit less of, they're not chasing big deals. They're simply performing the service of adjusting the way it was meant to be. And hopefully that will bring carriers and homeowners together in a way that is substantially less contentious than it is today.
Well, and I think I'll say spreading out those monies through the subscription model, through the hourly. If I'm a public adjuster and I have to borderline storm chase, and they're doing cool work. I mean, I think of our bad days as a claim, and their lives are claims. When we have an insured that has X, Y, and Z issue, and we hop in there with them, help them have the right perspective on it. I really appreciate them doing the dirty work, and getting out there and trying to make stuff whole. But I do think that shared risk pool, that spread model, the subscription, helps everybody, when you're not rolling the dice, when you're not like, does this person have coverage? Do they not? Like when it's not point by point, but it's more spread out, I could see that being really helpful to alleviate pain points for people.
Absolutely. I think the biggest value add is that it's someone who you know is on your side. And even if that just means asking them a question,
Mhm.
or if it means, just saying, how would you interpret this? Or, I think I could live with the wall, with this wall of my
Yeah.
garage a little bit broken, but do I have to? Right? And that's a meaningful question. And there are, adjusters, and there are also independent adjusters out there,
Mhm.
but independent adjusters are compensated by the insurance carriers today. And sometimes that financial, that financial incentive creates a conflict of interest
Mhm.
in ways that we're going to try and alleviate and fix.
It's funny. Like I've had two car accidents. I want to say adjusters were cool. Car was taken care of. My dad had like some golf clubs stolen. His homeowners took care of it. They had a water leak. I'll give a shout out to a good carrier. Safeco took care of a water leak, second floor on a dwelling fire policy. So I've had good experiences, but I also haven't had to deal with catastrophic claims. And I can't imagine as an agent, Bradley Flowers and I Protect Insurance. Those guys will talk about hurricanes rolling through. I have no idea what it's like when 150 insureds get hit the same day. That's going to
That's
be
exactly it. That's
crazy,
exactly it.
you
Like
know?
even in the world where everybody is out of time, one, it helps to have someone on your side who knows the process,
Hmm.
because it is a little bit first in, first out, right? So when you go through FNOL, first notice of loss, to announce your claim to the insurance carrier, doing that as fast as you can, providing documentation as thoroughly and as fast as you can, and knowing all the steps in the insurance carrier claims process is critical to getting paid as soon as you can. And that payment can be, I don't want to exaggerate to life or death, but you're out of a home, right?
Oh,
Your house may have just been, largely destroyed by a natural disaster. This is getting the money you and your family need to survive. Should be, you want that as to be the least of your worries.
the stories from Texas were wild. We have a lot of friends over there. Yeah, like you said, just kind of ringing that bell as quick as you can to get whole as quick as you can. And I mean, these are all going to be insurance nerds on here for the most part watching, but the idea is to get people back whole. You're not trying to make it go beyond. You're not trying to pull as much money out. You're trying to like get you back to whole and kind of keep going forward. And I think that's really cool that you're
We
advocating.
actually, so at first, and I'll make a sort of a plug and an ask, which
Yeah.
is, we are looking for agents and brokers to help us distribute this product. We think that agents and brokers who care deeply about their clients and want to retain their clients, offering this new and unique service is a great way to do it,
Hmm.
right? So if you're we're trying to start in Texas, but honestly, any agent or broker who hears this and you're interested, reach out to me and let's talk. But I will say, to your point about getting whole and not necessarily above it, as pie in the sky and as fluffy as it sounds, we will be sitting down with carriers to say, you should want us in the industry. Let
Yeah.
us help close that gap. Right. So in Florida, the only good research out there is 10 years old and it's in Florida, but it is out there, which is, very often public adjusters do earn an extra $5,000 to $15,000 per claim that they get involved in. Most homeowners don't know about public adjusters, and if they knew more about them, they might use them. Rumor has it that up to 25% of coastal claims in Florida today do use public adjusters primarily for that reason. And they might be negotiating for more than the carrier really should be paying. And our goal is to work with carriers and independent adjusters and our own public adjusters to narrow that gap and just like ratchet down
Yeah.
the adversarial nature there.
Well, and I think too, it's crazy wrapping up the pandemic, which was very nice. Knock on wood. Um, just thinking about the scarcity mindset and toilet paper and mob mentality. So I have to think too. Hurricane rolls through. People don't realize the reserves, the reinsurance reserves that like these companies are built for this. And they're going to be able to pay a check. I imagine there's a little bit of, like you said, first in, first out. Let me make sure I get mine because everything's going nuts around me. So when you have those advocates, it's a team of people as well to help sort of like, I won't say pacify, but help everybody kind of mellow out. Be like, hey, we've been here. We're here for you. This is what we do. You know?
Yep.
That's cool.
No, it's absolutely true. But it's all in some sense predicated on reading the full policy. And there's a guy who's actually an advisor to the business named Bill Wilson, wrote a
Oh,
book
Bill,
called.
you're good. Yeah, you'll be fine.
There you go.
Everything's figured out then. You got Bill Wilson on board. You're covered.
But when words collide, RTFP, read the full policy.
Yeah.
It matters, right? We'll go with F for full on this podcast.
Yeah.
But each homeowner contract and policy is different.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to interpret it and know it ahead of time and feel comfortable and sleep well at night that you are covered. Agents and brokers do their absolute best to do it. For homeowners and for natural disaster perils, we think we can do it as in a most amazing way that is truly customer centric, and we're aiming to do it.
It's cool. Like I always joke, I feel very fortunate for accidentally getting insurance like other folks. It's very true that nobody means, for the most part, people don't mean to get in this industry, and then. I don't know. It's weird. It's one of the few things where I think you can do really well financially, personally, and actually do a genuine good and help people. It's like, I don't know. For me personally, I haven't seen many opportunities like that. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know how much we'll shift into just my backstory. But I joined insurance a little bit. I joined insurance a little bit late, and I had been a strategy consultant and done a number of things both internationally and in the U.S. for 10 years out of undergrad. And you're right. I also sort of lucked into the insurance industry, and I have found it absolutely fascinating. And one of the things I find most fascinating, and I guess it's gone beyond sort of like intellectual fascination to true passion, which is, over the past, insurance began as an incredibly noble social good, right? It's people coming together to help others in their community in times of need. And insurance at its core is absolutely 100% still that. Through a mix of last 100 years of being very product centric instead of customer centric, creating policies that are difficult to word and written in legalese, the industry has created a sense that it is adversarial, that we're just in it for the money and we're out to screw policyholders.
Yeah.
That's just not it's not true for individuals that I meet in the industry, or at least 99% of them, and it shouldn't be true of the industry, and I don't think it really is. And I think we are, you and I and others that you have on this podcast, we work every day to sort of make it feel like the noble and positive social endeavor that it began as.
And I believe in playing the game fair. You don't want to pick on your competition or whatever else. My best friend, big old machine shop, he thinks insurance is a scam. Like small business owners don't like it. But when they need it, it's phenomenal. And to be fair to the general public, there are anonymous orgs out there. There are people that kind of don't really put their name on the business. There are people who just want to push paper, bend the rules. It happens, I try to play the game right. I think about it long term, but again, not perfect. We just do our best, work off of experience. We have errors and omissions insurance for a reason, regretfully.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we're definitely trying our best.
Exactly. You talked about your buddy who's a small business owner.
Yeah.
It's a great example of the trust gap, which is small business owners, what they would have said to all of their friends and family. Yeah, I've got business interruption insurance. So when my business is interrupted, by COVID or the pandemic, I assume I'll be covered.
And to their credit, they're paranoid. They think everyone's trying to get in their pockets. They're kind of guarding their molehill to a degree.
It's tough, right? Being a small business owner is a really tough space to be in. But the policies matter, and so being able to understand what's in there and feeling comfortable with that, it's a tough job. And I'm glad agents and brokers and now natural disaster advocates are trying to do it.
I think you did something really cool. And we were talking about the complexity, and I think everything kind of operates somewhat cyclically. What you did with Putty Insurance sounded really cool, having a niche, simplified delivery, taking care of a market. I think we're going to go from, it's funny to say it, but complex to simple to more complex. It just seems like the way things go.
Yeah, I mean the lab that I built at the Hartford was a human-centered design lab, cool. And for me that's still an incredibly powerful and resonant concept, which is sit down with people that you want to help and understand their pain points, let them articulate it to you, and really learn how you can help. Right? Like I've got 7 and 5-year-old boys, and I try and convince them. They say, can you help me with dinner? It's not do what you think you should do. Helping me with dinner is doing what I need you to do. Right? So if we really want to help customers, we need to ask customers what their pain points are. We need to develop products that fit their niches, their pain points. And Putty was a great example, right? We sat down with handymen and we said, what will help you? We're an insurance company, so don't ask us to make a better door, but how do we actually build a product that helps you? And I and the team, we're really proud of Putty Insurance. It's getting great traction. But there are a ton of what I would call customer-centric ideas out there, and beginning to be customer-centric businesses and companies that are just taking a niche and doing everything they can to help that group. Right? For Putty and for us, that was part-time handymen. For someone else, and now for NDA, for natural disaster advocates, it's around helping the homeowner feel comfortable with their claims and with their policy. Right? Like we're going to do whatever we can to help them.
That's cool. No, I think it's funny. It's missional, and then the bottom line's got to make sense. But I agree. You hear startups need programmers in-house just because you don't know until you put stuff in the world how it's going to work. I'm fortunate to be working on a brokerage, but also be helping a company called Fineo come to the U.S. from Canada. And half their team are actual, agents, business people who are licensed and experienced, and you got programmers. And then on the insurance, on the broker side of the house, we're actually working on our own CRM, AMS. We're lucky to have a few outside users on there. But our buddy Mark Mescal is a smart guy. It's like, let's just put it out there and let's get people in it. Let's give them ability to say this is wrong, or we'd like to have this, and let's listen and let's build what people ask for. Yeah, we all have theory, but then it's like the Mike Tyson quote where everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Kind of just go out there and get in the game.
I've never heard nor used that before, and I love it. I'm going to steal it. It is, right? Tyson. I mean, customer feedback is real, right? Yeah. Like customers will tell you how good it is, right? Like you don't need your own internal executives or developers, neither of which are your customer, telling you whether or not your product is good. Build it, put it out there, and then tweak it when, or scrap it. Honestly, if customers say, "I'm not interested in this. Like this isn't what I need."
Well, I think reps and iteration kind of get out there in the real world, feel it out. It's funny, get a little random, but my dad's a 30-year commission salesman, scratch golfer, played golf in college. My older brother played college sports, little brother played college sports. We grew up in a very dry house, just the very direct, German, English, Scottish, and my mom's Mexican, so that was warmth, a whole other influence. But I get paranoid if I get, patted on the head too much, or if people are too nice. I'm like, you need people around you to, call you dummy, set you straight. We don't need cheerleaders. We need honest perspective. I guess maybe a balance is probably best.
When balance is probably right, and I'm sure that's true of parenting as well.
Yeah, that's funny. And then I saw Liberty Mutual before. Were you doing similar work at Liberty as to Hartford?
So Liberty was actually my entry point, my entree into the P&C industry, and Liberty is a great place to enter P&C because it covers all manner of sin in the insurance in the P&C space. Right, it's omni-channel, omni-product. Yeah. I was part of their corporate strategy team, which is essentially a replication of the Bain, BCG, McKinsey model of consultants helping executives to do strategic thinking and as well as analysis and execution of critical projects. Mm-hmm. And that was helpful for me because it also allowed me to see fully cross-functionally, whether it be marketing, product, underwriting, actuarial, claims, finance, HR, IT, right? I got to see the whole thing.
That's cool.
And I think Liberty has clearly made a statement over the last 10 or 15 or actually 20 years by now around growth, right? Like they want to be one of the big guys along with State Farm, Allstate, Progressive, et cetera, Geico. Wish them the best of luck. I've got a ton of great friends there. It was a great place to be.
I started selling I got licensed 7 years ago, was part-time for a couple of years. I had a full-time personal role. I put Liberty right there. I put them in the, nationwide travelers bucket. That's how I kind of think of them. There's maybe your Mammoth, they're they're a 1A, I think. But yeah, a great company. And, no paper's perfect, no company's perfect. Kind of get what you pay for. I hate to say it, you scrimp on a policy, underwrite like your levels of coverage. Say you make less money than you do, the meat probably won't be there. But if you really sit down with your advisor and really kind of flesh out, and it's a balance too, because you can go broke buying insurance, but if you have employees, in California that could sue you, EPLI is huge. 40% of claims or something like that's like cyber these days. Adding a cyber policy on top of a GL, like you kind of get what you pay for to a degree, and the transparency is helpful. From the client side to the carrier and vice versa. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a belief that, so depending on what line of business and geography you're looking at, somewhere between 30 and 60% of all risks in the world are either not insured or not covered today. And my belief is that, the large chunk of that is because we haven't created unique policies and unique risk transfer mechanisms that actually address those needs, right? I'll go back to harping on the customer-centric and human-centered design. Like, we need to find what those, some 70% of small business owners who are sole proprietors don't have insurance, don't have any type of real business insurance. And the reason is, if it's going to take you an hour to fill out a complicated form and the policy was written as if you had 50 employees, you don't feel like it's not really being catered to your needs, right? Let's build something for them. That was also a driving part of Putty, but it's one of the great reasons why agents and brokers add so much value, because sitting across the table, you can speak the language of a sole proprietor versus a 10-person business more readily. Whereas, if you're sitting across a computer screen, you need to gather data to even understand that difference.
Yeah, and luckily there are better tools bubbling up for us today, and there's some people bringing the data forward. So I think we're headed the right direction on the whole. And I guess maybe like last thing I want to chime in, some of my claims friends, like, people want to pay claims, carriers want to pay claims, people want to do it right. I generally think, they're not game planning against the the homeowner or the small business or whatever. I think for the most part, everyone's got the right intentions, And,
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think there are some institutional things that lean those intentions every once in a while in certain directions, and we just want to make it a fair playing field. But I think, but to your, I love the tone that you were using there, which is we just need to ratchet down some of the rhetoric, right? Like this should be a fact-finding and sharing mission to say, one of the four walls is fine, but the other three were knocked down, or, I understand my garage, come to me at the end because I can still park my car in the garage. Don't worry about it. But at some point I'm going to need your help, carrier. And, I feel like that was our relationship. Let's talk about it.
That's cool. And I think of it like being at a restaurant or something. It's funny to say it, but being organized, knowing what your order is, having a sense of like what the workflow of said server or bartender might be, kind of clumping the ask, getting all your information out at once, it's just better service, when
that's a really interesting analogy, right? Like for people who don't go out to bars often, you see them sort of struggle to both elbow in and don't know what to ask when these are all pre-COVID examples, but don't know what to ask when they actually get 10 seconds of the bartender's time. Imagine if you had, your bartender wing buddy. That's sort of what Natural Disaster Advocates is for a homeowner. We help you through it.
They're teaching you. They know how to eat in a restaurant. They're going to guide you through the process. That's funny. But Chris, no, thanks so much for the time and for breaking it down. I think there's a lot of things going on in the world that are crazy. It's really cool what you guys are doing to help alleviate some of that crazy when stuff pops up for big regions of the country. I think it sounds like a really cool company.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a great chance. It was great chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll chat again. But thanks for this. This was great.
Absolutely. We'll catch you guys soon.
Later. Bye.